This is Julie Sprankles, the Charleston Home and Design Magazine, and I'm here at 2 Concord Street in downtown Charleston, and I am joined by Charles Bark from McAllister Preferred Properties and interior designer Mike Schuin with Michael David and Associates. Now, Charles, I'd like to start with you. This house is currently on the market for $17.5 million, making it one of the most expensive properties on the peninsula, but arguably it's one of the most unique properties in the Southeast and perhaps beyond. Can you touch a little bit on what makes this property so unique?
Thanks, Julie. It is an extremely exceptional, unique property. The home is elevated on concrete piling, so it actually sits hovering over the water, which makes it just an exceptional waterfront property, unlike anything, certainly in Charleston and probably all along the East Coast. Some other very unique features are the green aspect for the property. Just a couple weeks ago, the home actually received the LEED designations. The guest house is LEED Platinum. The main house is LEED Gold, which actually makes this house the only LEED certified home in Charleston. Probably the most defining feature of the house is the dock. There's a 100-foot long floating dock. Currently, the yacht that docks at the property is 123 feet long. So it's a dock that can definitely accommodate a very large yacht.
And being that Charleston is a maritime city, I wanted to touch on the fact that this property actually has a very unique maritime history. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Before the owners and the construction team and the designers created this as a residence, the property was owned by the state of South Carolina and leased to the U.S. Navy, where it functioned as a degaussing station, which demagnetized the magnetic signature of ships entering the harbor, making them less susceptible to mines.
An interesting bit of historical trivia. Now, before Mike takes us on a tour of the home and shows us some of the more interesting interior elements, I did want to touch on some of the things here in the foyer that illustrate how important it is to have an interior designer and kind of the doors it opens up, so to speak. Can you start by telling us a little bit about this very beautiful stair rail here?
Well, Julie, as you said, the house is a very unique and dramatic house in its positioning as well as its location on this water. So I felt when you came through the front door, you should have something that was exciting and showed the drama that the rest of the house will have, and that's this curved stairway, the arch over the entrance to the dining room. And if you'll notice, the stair railing is custom unique, and with its curvature also helps give that softness and beauty to enhance the curvature of the stair. Behind me, we also have something kind of fun. This is a paneled wall, and we have the powder room at the beginning, but back here we've hidden a door so that you can slip in, and it's a wine room that holds approximately 1,500 bottles of wine, temperature controlled.
Now, for many of these custom features, and for the entire house, you work with Metters Construction, a local construction company. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. They were the builders, and they somehow took my drawings and made them come to life, which sometimes was a little more difficult than any of us thought it was going to be, but I think it's turned out rather well, and it was a good collaboration of efforts.
Well, let's move on to the rest of the house and have you point out some of those very unique collaborative items.
Certainly.
Well, Mike, here we are in the kitchen, but before we delve into this space, I wanted to ask you about some interesting curvature I noticed as we walked through the formal dining room into this room. Can you tell me a little bit about your design decision there?
Well, the thought was, Julie, that because there are 4 major openings in this dining room and very little wall left, that instead of having these tight little corners that what does one do? You can't put a piece of furniture or not, it just doesn't work. Why not curve them, and then they become part of the room and more of the room? And then we also curve the ceiling to go with that, and the crown molding with the recessed lighting behind it.
Which definitely makes a dramatic impact. Speaking of dramatic impacts, one thing I'd like to point out right away is that throughout the house, in every room, you have these really beautiful views. Here in the kitchen, we're looking out onto Charleston Harbor. You can see Fort Sumter. A little further, you can see the bridge in Yorktown. When you're designing, is the view something you take into consideration?
Oh, definitely. I'd like to take credit for it, too, but unfortunately, Mother Nature did that for us. And as you say, in every room in the house, you have some sort of a water view, which is what makes this house so unique and so dramatic. And we tried to not compete with the exterior, with the interior, but simply complement it and give them both room to breathe and live together.
Well, let's talk about some of the specific features here in the kitchen. Can you kind of walk us through your design process?
Well, you can't see it from the camera angle, but the living room looks right through to the kitchen. And since we wanted to keep some bit of formality in this kitchen. I decided to do a whole wall of cabinetry to look like a big piece of furniture, a great English breakfront or an Italian armoire. We incorporated the windows with them, and we even put a wood countertop on the back counter so that it would give that, again, that piece of furniture look rather than so much cabinetry. In front we have the island and done in light colors, so you just sort of pass over it. And as been mentioned before, all of the marbles and granites that you see in this house are reclaimed. They are remnants that weren't used on another project for whomever. We went to the various marble yards in town and selected these from their scraps in the back. That way it gives it more of a green. It was not cut out from a mountainside just for this project.
So it's an eco-chic space.
I like that term, eco-chic. I'm going to have to use that.
Well, it's a beautiful, beautiful room. I'm sure they get a lot of joy out of it. Now let's just move on to the next room.
Okay.
Well, we have found our way into the library and made ourselves right at home. It's such a comfortable room, and the first thing you notice is all this very warm wood, which does lend itself to that inviting atmosphere. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The wood is reclaimed cypress. It would come from the bottom of when they were milling cypress in South Carolina. Many of the logs would fall off the boats, and these have now been discovered at the bottom of rivers, and they dig them back up again, and we create beautiful paneled rooms like this. This was to be the room where it was warm, cozy. On a cold, blisteringly stormy night, you could hide away in here. It's the only room with a fireplace in the main house. And as well as being green with the reclaimed wood, the mantel is an antique, which again, antiques are green.
Another thing I wanted to point out, you'll see this very interesting design element running along the perimeter of the room. Was that something that you had developed?
It is. It takes the place of a standard chair rail, which again, I always believe a little uniqueness in a home goes a long way and can be much more exciting than what you would normally typically see. And I think people, it may take you a moment or two after you walk into a house to see all these little details, but once you do, it grabs you and you enjoy the house and it becomes a part of you.
Well, the space is definitely cozy, but as cozy as we have gotten, let's move on to the next space. We're in one of the 3 bedrooms in the main house. This room has a decidedly more feminine feel. I'm sure that was intentional. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, originally this was designed for the owner's daughter. However, since the room has come into creation, the daughter has gotten married and moved on to her own. So hence it becomes the more ladies' guest bedroom.
Now, one thing I noticed immediately walking into this room is the artwork. We have a painting by local painter Shannon Smith, the daughter of the very revered local painter Betty Anglin Smith. But there's some very interesting, unique installation art on this far wall. How did you come up with that idea?
Well, actually, it's all their daughter. She had one time thought of going into the fashion industry, and they are cutouts for various dresses and designs, and they're framed and put on the walls. And quite frankly, I think they're as good art as you can find anywhere. They're great personality.
A clever way to incorporate something for a more personal feel. And I did notice there's this really beautiful mirror, the very unique headboard, and those were pieces that you sourced locally?
We did get these locally. They came from Southeastern Galleries Furniture on Highway 61. They're a whole line of furniture. You can see the striping is very unique, and again, sort of upbeat and fun.
Speaking of upbeat and fun, we are now moving on to the party room.
Yes, it will be time to party. You know that wine cellar downstairs? Well, a lot of it goes up to the top floor.
Let's head up. Well, we've made our way to the main attraction, so to speak, here in the main house, which is the party room, affectionately referred to. It's a beautiful space and has some very, very interesting design elements. Can you elaborate on those?
Well, we are at the top of the house, and when we got here, we decided why not give it a hint of an Art Deco feeling. Hence, the crown moldings in this room are rapidly repeating as the Art Deco era did, and again, custom made. And Metters Construction was kind enough to make these for me from my drawings, and I appreciate it, and I think they did a great job. The colors are aquas and silvers, again, more of that era. And as you can see, there's a big bar behind us, which means there's plenty of room for lots of people and lots of fun. The terrace does go 3/4 of the way around this room also, so you can step out and get the ocean breezes and see what all's happening in Charleston.
Now you'll notice there's a sitting area here, there's a little dining nook or a little kind of conversation area, and then there's the bar. So when you were creating this space, how did you create such different zones but still have such a cohesive feel?
Well, of course, architecture ties everything together. As the moldings go around the room, the coloring goes around the room. It was somewhat dictated, though, by the shape of the house and where the stairs would come up. And because of that, it gave us a bar area, which is always fun to have. And people can go out the terrace from that side, or from this side, from the sitting area, they can also go out and enjoy the views and see what's happening outside. Although there are 360-degree views in this room, so nothing goes unnoticed.
Well, this space definitely goes to show what makes this property so unique and so impressive. So let's go ahead and conclude our tour of 2 Concord in the guest house. We're wrapping up here in the guest house, and again, I'm joined by Mike and Charles. Mike, will you just give us a synopsis of the guest house and its function in this home?
Obviously, being a guest house, it is designed for guests, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, even has a laundry room and full kitchen. But as you can tell by looking behind us, that it has an entirely different feel, much different from the main house. This is more of a Charlestonian-looking structure, although it is brand new, and done with some of the transom windows, brick walls, as you find in older Charleston homes.
And one thing to note, this guest house has a different LEED certification than the main house, and you do immediately notice a lot of reclaimed materials. Can you elaborate on that?
Certainly, the floor is reclaimed chestnut. Again, had fallen off of a shipyard boat at one time in its life and was reclaimed recently and turned into flooring. The countertops, again, are remnants from a project of someone's that didn't use all of the pieces, all the slabs, and we used them here in the kitchen. The walls are a fun product called American clay, which is the color is created in the clay. It's almost like a mud, and it creates a positive ion throughout the room. And we're told that it helps repel dirt from the walls, and it makes you happy. So we're all happy.
I feel happy. Now, Charles, I did mention that this is a different certification. What exactly is the LEED certification for the guest house?
The guest house is LEED Platinum, and the Platinum designation is the highest LEED certification there is. The main house is LEED Gold, being the second highest. And these LEED designations make these homes, the guest house, and the main house being the only LEED certified homes in Charleston.
Well, while we're speaking about some of these unique features of the house, like the LEED certification, can you just give us a once-over again of all the different unique features of this property?
It's an amazing property, being on the waterfront, the views of the Charleston Harbor, the Ravenel Bridge on one side, Fort Sumter on the other. You have the Yorktown in the middle of Castle Pinckney over towards Sullivan's Island. And then behind you have the Charleston steeples and the Charleston skyline. It's got the green features and the LEED designation, and also the only dock in historic downtown Charleston.
Well, if anyone wants to speak with you more in detail about this property, how can they get in touch with you?
Sure. It's my name obviously is Charles Bark. The phone number, our office phone number is 843-884-1664. My cell phone is 843-991-3337. And we do have a website for the property. It's the property address, twoconcord.com. TWO Concord.com.
Now, Mike, after everyone sees your work in this home, I'm sure they're going to want to contact you as well. Can you give us your contact information?
Certainly, Julie. I'm Michael Schuin with Michael David and Associates, and the easiest way to get me is via cell 845-452-6606. Almost the mark of the devil, but the O got in there.
Well, once again, I've been speaking with Realtor Charles and interior designer Mike, and we've been at 2 Concord in downtown Charleston. Thank you, guys.